Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to Watchers Podcast with your hosts, Brad and Colson.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Why are you doing this to us? Gives you a home.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told it was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Brad, here with Colson Oliver.
Hello.
And good news, Colson's seen his shadow this week, so it's six more months.
I had no idea what the fuck you were talking about, and then I realized what day was this week. So,
so 6 more months of Watchers Podcast.
Yeah, good.
Way to go, Colson.
You're welcome, everybody.
Everyone's cursing you right now. They're like, fuck. How you doing?
I'm doing good. You?
Pretty good. Ready to talk spooky shit today.
Awesome.
Before we get into our review this week, I was sent a scary story.
Okay.
This one gets into a category we haven't dealt too much with yet.
Awesome.
So it's going to be fun.
Okay.
This one comes from Ricky Cabler. He says, I was living with a girl in Indiana about 10 years ago. She had these anger and sometimes rage fits. One night she was sitting on the bed and lost herself. She took a pen and started fist drawing the words "go away" over and over in thick lines. I had a feeling it was like an animal defending its young. Totally focused. I asked what she was doing and she ignored me. I went with my gut and said, "You're not welcome here." She looked up and the whites of her eyes were bloodshot to the point of being solid red. I don't remember what I said, but I remember feeling that I couldn't show any fear. I had to be confident to the point of arrogance, letting this thing know it could do nothing and couldn't touch me, even going as far as to mock it when it wanted to make threats. This went on for about 15 or 20 minutes when her head finally dropped. She looked up confused, wondering what just happened. Her eyes were clearing, but she started to cry. She told me that she felt lighter than she had in years and asked, "What are you?" All I could say was, "Bad things don't like me." 2 or 3 days later, I fell asleep on the couch while watching TV. Just an afternoon nap that lasted all of 10 minutes. I woke up with a burning feeling on my right hand. I looked and saw 3 welts growing. Imagine putting sandpaper around a toothpick and pulling it hard and fast over your skin. That's what it looked like. It just happened. I stayed with her another couple of years. Her anger issues were greatly reduced. Other than that night, she didn't go into fits of rage anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So we haven't talked too much about possession.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. That's a creepy one.
That is. I don't know how I would react in that situation. Yeah. I don't know if I'd be that brave to be like, "Hey, fuck off, ghost."
That would be, you hear the front door open and close, you hear my car door open and close, the engine start up, and the tires squealing down the street.
Hear you running down the hallway. Thump, 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 wham!
It's the old Simpsons bit whenever Krusty, hey, and you hear him do his thing and hear the tires peel off down the road. That would be me. Gone. Fuck that. That's creepy.
Well, good job, Ricky, for saving your friend from what sounds like a demon.
Yeah.
In all senses of it.
It's definitely it. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Creepy.
If you guys have a scary story for us, just reach us on Instagram at Watchers_podcast. Or if you're listening on YouTube, comment below. Or send us a private message if it's something you don't want people to know that happened to you.
Yeah, it was from you. Yeah.
Raped by a ghost.
Yeah.
Or
a tree like an Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dick root.
Yes.
Anyway, on to our review for this week. We are talking about The Faculty.
Yeah.
From 1998. 4.5 on IMDb.
Okay.
Have you seen this one?
I have.
Me too.
Yeah.
As of now.
As of now. Not before.
Not before.
This week.
Yeah, and this was one that was kind of on my watch list. Had a rough idea what it was about ahead of time.
Okay.
And was interested in it.
I'm excited to hear what you thought.
Yeah.
So we'll...
and I didn't know it was a Robert Rodriguez movie.
Yeah.
That surprised me whenever I started watching. I'm like, oh shit. It's like, I'm in for this.
Yeah, it kind of slips under the... It's not his typical what he does, but...
Yeah. He's more known for like his Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Right.
And, Planet Terror. And
yeah,
stuff
things,
like that.
yeah, different. But,
yeah. You want to tell
into
everyone a story about the faculty?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the cast first.
Yep.
Crazy cast.
Everybody's in this.
Josh Hartnett plays Zeke. Jordana Brewster plays Delilah. Elijah Wood plays Casey. Laura Harris plays Mary Beth. Sean Hattasey plays Stan. Clea Duvall, is it Clea?
Yep.
Yeah, Clea Duvall plays Stokely. And then we got Robert Patrick playing Coach. Salma Hayek plays a nurse. Usher's in the movie.
Yeah.
Christopher McDonald, Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a stacked cast.
Very stacked.
If you announced today that you were making a movie, and that was the cast, people would be like, this is crazy.
Exactly.
Like, why? But it's awesome.
Yeah, and it was written by Kevin Williamson, who wrote Scream.
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about that at the end a little bit. Yeah, anyway.
I've been on a little bit of a Clea Duvall, like, mini, like, marathon by accident.
Yeah.
I watched Girl Interrupted last week, and then this as well.
Yeah.
We'll see what she's in next, I guess.
That's right. So, spoiler alert, we're going to spoil everything.
We're going to ruin it.
Yeah. So, the movie starts off with football coach just fucking flipping out.
Yeah.
Yelling at his team. Typical high school football guy. He kicks them all off the field, tells them to hit the showers, and he's there on the field kind of bent down, and somebody comes up behind him, and he looks and says, like, what do you want? Like, that type of thing. And then fades to black. So that's what we're introduced to. It's a mystery movie. Next, there's a group of teachers are talking in the faculty lounge about budget, no field trips, computers, things like that. They're all getting cut. But football is good to go there. They're getting all new uniforms and all that shit.
Yeah, I think that's pretty well how it is in the United States.
It really is. It's what brings them money. So they get rewarded for... It's the same as colleges and shit. Like, Ohio State brings in, I don't know, millions and millions a year. All the big schools do. So,
and I'm sure those players are getting paid.
Oh, they're rolling in it.
Yeah.
And God forbid if they get hurt, because, their careers are over. Nothing.
Yeah, they're probably paid very handsomely.
And, they also get paid super well for signing their name on their jerseys, that if they find out they do that, they get kicked out or suspended or whatever. Wow. It's fucking stupid. NCAA stinks.
Gross.
Okay. Moving ahead. So, the teachers are all leaving school. The principal realizes she forgot her keys, so she goes back in and is surprised by Coach Willis. He says he needs a pencil, and she thinks he's been drinking and gives him a pencil, and he's kind of hitting on her in a weird way, and she kind of calls him out on it, and then he just grabs her hand and stabs a pencil right through it. Like, and then he says, I always wanted to do that. And then she just kind of like swipes her keys across his face and takes off. She gets to the door, and all the doors are chained closed. So she goes to a room and tries the window, and he comes running in like the T-1000 or whatever from Terminator 2, and they start wrestling again, and she gets free again. She runs back to the door, and there's another teacher there saying, oh, Miss Burke, I forgot. And she's trying to tell her, like, he's after me.
Yeah, he's the perfect pick for this role.
100%.
Because he's basically just doing the same character.
Exactly. So the principal gets to the door, realizes she dropped her keys in her office, so she's going to go back. So it's all kind of quiet. She sneaks in, gets her keys, and then you hear the teacher who was outside just, he's coming! So she starts running again, gets to the door, unlocks it, gets out, closes him in, locks the door in, and then she kind of turns to the teacher that was there, and she's just like blankly staring at her.
Yeah.
And then she just has scissors and picks it up and stabs her in the chest a shitload of times. She falls down, and then that woman says, I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So, and then the faculty sign comes up, and we start into the movie. I guess, I don't know. So next day, high school, there's a fancy car. I think it's a 1970 Challenger.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I think so. He pulls into the parking lot, driving like a complete asshole, drifting, and takes up 3 parking spaces. Goes to his trunk, grabs a handful of pens. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And next they kind of do an introduction of characters. So we see, like, Casey. He gets punched in the fucking head. And it like, frees for him, like, Casey. And then, you know, Stokely walks by, Delilah, etc. It's going on through all these people.
Yeah.
This school is crazy. There's a car accident in the front, and the people are just beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
There's, like, jock kids who take a nerd, and they, like, ram his ball bag into a fucking flagpole. And just crazy.
Yeah, it's like every, like, stereotypical thing you can think of all in one place, like, happening at the same time.
That's exactly it. We get introduced to Zeke. He's in the bathroom. He's selling fake IDs to that dude from that 70s show. I don't know his name.
Yeah, the one who will never be in a movie
exactly,
again.
Yeah. He's being charged with a bunch of bad things.
Not Fez.
No, it's the curly-haired guy.
Yeah, that always wore sunglasses.
Masterson's his real name. It's Danny Masterson's brother.
Yeah.
Or that's him. I can't remember.
My wife will be yelling at me because of this, because she watched that 70s show.
I never watched it, so I don't know. But I have a question for you. Did you recognize who was standing with him?
Oh.
You would have to go back to our very first episode, first or second episode of Watchers before we switched to horror. It's Mitch Kramer. Wiley Wiggins from Dazed and Confused.
Oh, yes. Yes. My wife pointed that out.
Okay.
She was like, oh, that's the long-haired kid.
That's it. I showed my wife, and he always does that eyebrow grab thing, and that's what she did. Like, is it him? And I was like, oh, that's him. Yeah, so he's in another movie.
Yeah.
So, back inside the faculty lounge, there's a bunch of teachers there. The coach is just chugging water.
Yeah.
He's standing at the water cooler just drinking. They're all wondering where Principal Drake is. Miss Olson walks in, I think that's her name, and the coach just kind of snaps out of his daze and is like, oh, hi, you look very beautiful today, and she's smiling at him, because they're the two that are now possessed, I guess, or whatever, infected.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, Stan... He tells his girlfriend, who is Delilah, that he's quitting football. He's the starting quarterback. And she says that he won't get to college without football. And he's hurt by that.
Yeah. This guy, he's a weird choice to play, like, the jock.
I know.
I know. Star quarterback. Because he just kind of looks like a scruffy, like, little guy.
Yeah. And, like, when you think, like, because it happens a lot when they cast people in quarterback. Quarterbacks are normally, other than, like, Russell Wilson, who plays for the Seahawks, he's like 5'10". Okay. Most of them are over 6'3", 6'4". Some of them are 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
And they're like 230, 240 pounds. And this guy's like maybe 5'9", and he's like 160 pounds.
It would have made more sense to me if they put Josh Hartnett in this role.
Exactly. Switch the two up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got to mention now, Josh Hartnett's haircut.
You don't like it?
Probably the scariest thing in this movie.
Yeah, it's the he had the same kind of thing going on in Halloween H2O.
Yeah.
It was that bedhead
It looks
style.
Like Ben Stiller's hair in Tropic Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
When he's playing...
Jack.
Jack.
Simple Jack.
Simple Jack. Yeah, Josh Hartnett looks like Simple Jack in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, she's the head cheerleader. He's the star quarterback. It's supposed to be that way. Whatever.
Yeah. Can't change it now.
No, exactly. So Mary Beth, we were introduced to Mary Beth. She's a new girl. Southern accent from Atlanta, I think we find out. She sits down with Stokely, who is kind of a goth look to her, like that, wears black eye makeup and all that shit. And Delilah comes up to tell Mary Beth that Stokely is a lesbian and keep her distance. So.
Yeah. I'm an idiot, because I thought Mary Beth was Kirsten Dunst for like the first...
Oh, there's kind of a resemblance there.
That's what I said.
Yeah, a little bit.
For the whole movie, I thought it was her until the end.
Okay. So, yeah, moving ahead, Casey, who is played by Elijah Wood, he's sitting in the stadium just kind of eating lunch alone like a nerd.
A fucking hobbit or something.
Yeah, exactly. He starts walking around the field and he finds something in the field. And as he's picking it up, he gets interrupted by the coach, who questions who he is. And, you don't like sports, do you? Or, whatever, I don't like sports. Casey says at this point, a person should only run if they're being chased, which is a great great line. And then he kind of scares him away. Now, Casey, at this point, moving forward, he goes into his science class and he tells his teacher that he's found something. Mary Beth is questioning Stokely about being a lesbian, and she finds out that she's not. It's just kind of a defense mechanism, I guess, to keep people away from her. I don't know.
Yeah, it's 1998, not
exactly
2021.
So, Casey, what he found was a sea-dwelling organism. And it's weird because they're in Ohio. They spill water on it at one point, and it kind of moves, and they're like, okay, let's put it in a fish tank. So they do, and it like starts swimming around and grows like tentacle things.
Yeah, it's like a flesh-colored tadpole almost at first. Or like a wiener.
Exactly. And if you've ever seen like a jellyfish in the ocean, those red things that come, the stinger things, that's what kind of comes off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the teacher, he puts a glove on, reaches in, and it becomes two.
Yeah, it's
and then he reaches in and it like pulls its face back and bites his finger.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like Alien, but it has to manually pull its face back to make its other way. Anyway, so next we see Stan. He's telling the coach that he's quitting the team to focus on academics, and the coach takes it very well. This is a very different coach from what we saw 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, because he's scared.
Yeah.
He's expecting to get chewed out.
Exactly. And he says, yeah, that's fine. I understand. What kind of human would I be if I treated you bad or whatever? And, so the coach is okay with it. Stan, at this point, hits the showers. And he's lathering up his face, and we see some feet come in.
Oof.
Gross feet. He washes off his face and turns to see who was there. There's nobody there. And then he turns around, and we see a teacher rushing at him. She got sores all over her face and chest.
Yeah, she looks like she's about 70.
Yeah, she's like, I can't breathe. She kind of like goes into him. He touches her fucking head, and like a massive clump of hair comes out with scalp.
Yeah.
Because he then drops it, and it sounds like fucking dumping hamburger onto the floor.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Just this splat noise.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or if you drop some lunch meat.
So gross. So gross.
Yeah, that's one of the... Like, I have a pretty good stomach for gore.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, this really disgusted me when I seen it.
It is a gross one, for sure. So yeah, Casey had come in and he's like, go get help. So next we see him and Casey sitting in the office questioning like what was wrong with her. And Miss Olson tells them that she has cancer and they thought she could finish out the year or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Casey at this point, he's sitting there and he looks out in the field and the coach is just standing under like fucking massive sprinklers just standing there.
Yeah.
Like a total creep. So they agree to keep it quiet, not tell anybody about her condition. Next we see Zeke, again, he's selling more shit out of his car. I think he's selling porn tapes.
Yeah.
Like, he's claiming celebrity porn tapes. I think he mentions maybe Jennifer Love Hewitt. I can't remember. And then we see another teacher, a very shy teacher, Mrs. Burke. She asks Zeke, what's wrong with you? We find out that he's a year ahead of everybody. He failed his senior year.
Yeah.
If he focused on school, he'd be... Because he is smart. He knows a lot of shit, but he's just doesn't do the work.
Doesn't apply himself.
Yeah. He tries to sell her laxatives and then condoms and shit, and she's very, like, sheltered, so she doesn't do good with that and leaves. And that would be fucking awkward anyway, offering a teacher condoms.
Yeah.
Cherry flavored, I believe. Anyway, so she leaves. Now, Casey and Delilah, they work for the paper, the school paper.
Yep.
And they're going to sneak into the faculty lounge to find out some shit to put in the paper. And they're snooping around. They find drugs for one of the teachers, medication, not fucking coke.
Yeah.
They find alcohol from one of them, and they hear teachers coming, so they run and hide in the closet, and it's Mrs. Olson and the coach again, and they're just chugging water. Miss Olson fucking takes a cup and just throws it in her face. It's great. They talk about most of the staff being commuted, and the students will be soon. Mm-hmm. They're hearing all this shit. The nurse then comes in, is played by Salma Hayek. She comes in, questions why they're still there. And then, like, the coach, like, bumps into her and she falls back and she's like, oh. And he says that he has a pain. And then he just fucking grabs her head and starts squeezing it.
Yeah.
She falls down onto the couch and then he gets all, like, veiny or, like, something with his face. And he leans into her and spits out, like, one of those pod things, leech things.
Yeah.
And it goes into her ear.
Yeah, this part right here reminded me of books that I used to read as a kid called Animorphs.
Okay.
The kids, if they could touch an animal, they could turn into that animal. But there was like an alien invasion, and they were like slugs that climbed into people's ears and then took over their body.
Okay.
And so you didn't know who was a alien and who was real.
Right.
Which, conveniently, is very similar.
Exactly. So yeah, inside the closet, they're watching all this shit happen, and then the body of Mrs. Brodel, or whatever the hell her name is, she falls out onto Delilah, and of course they hear this commotion in the closet of the teacher, so the coach turns and looks. He's walking up, and he opens the door, and Casey just fucking rams him with like a broom handle, and they take off running. And they go straight into the principal, the one that we saw get stabbed a bunch in her chest. She's now completely fine. They kind of tell her, and she does not believe them. And they take off running. Casey falls. Delilah just bails on him. He's like, Delilah, wait! Door swinging open, closed, gone. So next we see Casey. He's leading the police into the faculty lounge with his parents. Coach, Miss Olson, the principal, they're all there. They apologize for the mix-up inside the closet. And he points to the police like it was in there. And they open the closet and there's like a CPR dummy.
Yeah.
So he looks crazy. The principal then says that she drove Nurse Harper home herself and tells the police, hey, you can call her from my office. And the cop goes in and we hear a little bit of a struggle. Kind of gets the other cop's attention for a second, and as she's walking towards the door opens, and they come, oh, she's there, all fine. And then tells the cop says, like, the kid made it up. Yeah. So they're all like, back inside Casey's rooms now. His parents are fucking tearing up his bedroom, looking for drugs. They ground him, no phone, no internet, no music, and no porno. Which he's got a stash of porno under his mattress.
Which is funny, because if you hear no internet, you assume no porno.
Exactly.
There, but this guy has books.
Exactly. So yeah, they lock him in his room or leave him there, and he immediately goes out his window. And as he gets out onto the roof, he looks down, and three of the teachers, there's three shapes down there just staring.
Yeah.
And it freaks him out. He falls off the roof, and as he gets up, his father's like, "What the hell are you doing?" Grabs him, and he's like, "They're right here," and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
So,
I wish that had been fleshed out a little more.
I do too.
Like, it could have been a really cool part of the movie.
Yeah.
But that's really all it is. Like, they're there, then they're not.
They're there, and then they're not. It's that quick.
Yeah.
So the next day, Casey is begging his father, like, "I don't want to go to school," and his father drops him off, tells him, "Come straight home." So Casey leaves the car, and as soon as he walks away, we see Coach Willis, like, go right up to his father, start talking to him. Delilah and Casey, they're talking about what they saw, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And as this is happening, there's messages over the PA system, like, "Will so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so please come to the office?" And they're just continually calling students. Inside the faculty lounge, we see, like, jugs of water. Like it's replaced everything. Coffee makers, now just water bottles.
Yeah.
Everything. Now, Zeke and Mary Beth, they kind of meet up and introduce themselves to each other. Stokely and Stan are talking, and there's a huge lineup of students going into the office, and they kind of look in, and we see, like, Nurse, whatever her name is, she's looking in their ears. And that's, yeah, the door gets closed as she's looking in, so they're obviously infecting everybody. Now, Zeke and Mary Beth are walking around the school. I should mention that this movie, it sounds like I'm jumping a lot. It jumps a lot.
It does. You have different little groups of characters
exactly.
all over the place.
So yeah, just stick with it. I'll try to make a picture of this. So yeah, they're walking around the school. The two guys, the Dazed and Confused and That 70s Show idiot, they are now trying to buy all of his drugs.
Yeah.
He sells pens with drugs in them. They call it scat.
Yeah.
And that's what, and they're like, "Oh, buy them all of them." And he's like, "Okay." And then he gives them some, and then they're like, "You got any more?" And he's like, "No." And he, like, tucks a bunch in his pocket, because he's like, "Why the fuck are you buying all these?"
Yeah. And they snorted.
Yeah, he snorted up their nose. Miss Burke at this point shows up, and she's not shy anymore. She's got no glasses now. Her hair's all done up better or whatever. And she tells him off, starts pushing him around. It's weird.
Yeah, she really tears into him.
Super embarrassing for him to be, because there's, like, people everywhere. But anyway.
Yeah.
She tells, like, "Where's your mother? Do you even know?" Or did she just like, holy shit. Just trashing him. Giving him a good trashing.
Yeah.
So Casey and Stokely are talking, and this is where we kind of get the science fiction part, because Stokely mentions Invasion of the Body Snatchers and other books and movies and shit, and he believes it all, and he tries to convince her, and she's like, it's science fiction, it's bullshit, whatever, and he's like, X-Files are real, and all this shit. And then she tells him in Invasion of the Body Snatchers that there's pods. And then something about parasites or something. So his brain kind of clicks, like, "Oh, that thing I found, let's go look."
Yeah.
So they get Delilah, they go to the science lab, and the species that they put in the tank, it's gone. And they find Stan, who was there, and they tell him what they've thought. Zeke and Mary Beth are in the closet next door. He's, like, stealing shit, like science equipment.
Yeah. And
they start making out, and they can hear them chatting through the vent. So then Zeke comes in, like, clenching his chest, like an alien's in him or something, or I don't know. Anyway, they join them, and at this point, Mr. Furlong, who is Jon Stewart, plays a science teacher. He comes in, and Zeke just totally throws Casey under the bus. He's like, he thinks you're an alien.
Yeah, he doesn't play it smooth at all.
Zeke then, and at this point, he's, like, closing the drapes in the room, and Zeke tries to leave, and Mr. Furlong, and which is hilarious because his name's Ed Furlong, who is obviously from Terminator 2.
Yeah, another Terminator reference.
Yes. So yeah, Mr. Furlong starts attacking them. He pushes Zeke Zeke then gets like a paper chopper or something.
Yeah, the thing that slices paper to length. It's like...
Yeah, that's right. So he gets that thing and chops his fingers off, like, right at the...
Yeah, he pulls the blade off of it.
Casey, at this point, finds one of the specimen things and pockets it. And then as the fingers fall onto the floor, they, like, wiggle around. They're moving.
By themselves, yeah. The special effects here are not too bad.
Not bad
for 1998 CGI.
23 years old now at this point, and so the things are wiggling around, and then those red tentacle things are out of his hand or coming out of where his fingers were, and then Zeke stabs him in the eye with one of his pens, and his eye just starts foaming. It's almost like baking soda and vinegar. Like
the drug pen.
Yeah, it explodes his eye up, and then he falls over, and they kind of look over the table, and they see him there, like, with the pen in his eye and foam, and yeah, that's the end of him. So they're like, holy shit, let's go to the parking lot, get in my car, that's what Zeke's saying. So they're going through the school, everybody's now, like, kind of looking at them. They're all infected, or seem to be.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're the only group that's not infected. So they get into his car, they go to leave, and he's like, let's check the radio, and he starts hitting all the things. There's just no radio, just static. And then they get to a roadblock, there's police with like a roadblock set up, and he drives around it, and just goes to his house. And he goes to his garage, and he's got like a fucking lab set up in there, and... At this point, we find out his drugs are just caffeine pills mixed in with some household shit.
Yeah.
And he also has a gun. So, Zeke is like a master scientist guy.
Yeah.
He cuts part of the parasite thing, and he puts it in with the mouse. He's got like a rat or whatever, and it like goes into it, and within like a second, it's moving around again. And then he kills the mouse, and then he opens it up and does like a mini autopsy on it.
Yeah, he's like, sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
You just hear a crunch.
Yes.
It's gross.
It is gross. So he does his little autopsy, and it's a lot like The Thing. It copies what it lives in. Like, whatever its host is, it becomes.
Yep. There's another similarity to The Thing that's coming up here soon, though.
That's right. So he then dumps some caffeine pills on it, and it like foams and sizzles away, and they realize, caffeine dries you out. That's why they like the water so much. So they have the weapon for it.
As I sit here drinking a glass of water and a coffee.
Exactly. So at this point they start questioning each other. Who's who? We have to find out. So we all have to do this fucking scat.
Yeah.
And
this feels very similar to the blood sample test in The Thing.
Exactly. They're pointing out, because like I didn't mention, but Delilah never had glasses on, and then after her and Casey ran away that time, the next day she came in with like glasses on, and there's other things, like Stan wanting to quit football, like that's not his character.
Yeah, and Mary Beth just showed up out of nowhere.
Exactly.
She's a new girl. And...
So they're all kind of accusing each other, so they're pointing out everybody's acting different. And outside at this point, we see a car pull up onto the street, and we'll get back to that in a minute, because it's weird. Zeke tells everyone to take a hit. It's the only way to know for sure. So Casey, he goes first. And then Zeke, he says he doesn't get high on his own. This part kind of bugged me, because he's like, everybody's got to do it. And they're all like, everybody's got to... Everybody's saying everybody has to do it. Yet when it comes to them, they're like, I'm not doing that. What, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, then don't fucking say everybody has to do it, you dum-dums.
Yeah.
Zeke, then, I don't get high on my own supply. Stan pulls a gun on him, and so he does it. And then Zeke grabs the gun from Stan, and Stan does his. And then Stokely goes, and she does it. They all start laughing and tweaking.
Yeah. That would be a horrible situation to be in, to be like super high.
Awful.
And then it being in a horror scenario.
Exactly. Mary Beth, she says she can't do it, that she's allergic. Delilah and her kind of get into an argument, and then they agree to do it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So they both do it. And then Delilah twists back in her chair, and they are like, Delilah? And they kind of touch her and pull her over, and she's got those fucking bugs all over her face, or veiny things, or whatever.
Yeah, it's like under her skin you can see like parasites.
Exactly, like slithering around.
Yeah, it's like in The Mummy when the scarab thing goes under the guy's skin and you can see it.
Yeah. So, they go under her skin. Stokely grabs the gun and shoots at her. She starts smashing all of Zeke's chemical shit that he has. And then she just runs outside and jumps in that car that had parked out there.
Yeah.
Weird. And they leave. So they figure out, hey, we have to get the queen. We get the queen, we can get them all. And they figure, where is everybody? And it's Friday night. Where else is everybody going to be? It's Friday night football.
Yeah.
So they go, and we see them kind of, the football team's killing the other team. Like, they're hammering them, knocking them unconscious, and trying to kill them. And they all think at this point that it's Principal Drake. So, they're inside the gym. Principal Drake comes in, like, what the hell are you guys doing here? And they tackle her and tie her up, and they tell her, you're going to sniff this, or we're going to shoot you. And she's like, I'm not doing that. And then they're like, well, what do we do? Because they have no backup plan. And then fucking Zeke comes out of nowhere, grabs the gun, and shoots her right in the head.
Yeah.
It's a great scene.
It is.
They're all like, well, what if we're wrong? Like, and you see blood start pouring out into, like, that big pool.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think we fucked up. And then she just pops up. And dumb Mary Beth, they only have a few pens. And they have a jar, like a mason jar with some of the powder in it. And fucking Mary Beth, the dum-dum, just runs over and throws the entire thing of powder right in her face, using all of it. And, of course, she starts twitching around and flops onto the ground.
Yeah.
So, they're like, okay, we gotta go see if it worked. We gotta go find other people and see if everybody's normal. So, Stan goes out. He takes one of the pens with him. And him and Stokely kiss at this point, which is, who saw that coming? So, Stan runs out onto the field. The whole team is there. It's pouring rain. And the whole team's standing up, looking up at the sky. And he gets there like, hey, coach! And, of course, the coach has, like, the tentacle things sticking out of his head.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's great. A flash of lightning happens. And,
yeah, it's such a cool image.
Yeah. So Stan comes running back to the school, and he says that he lost the drug. He dropped it when they were chasing him, and that coach is the queen or whatever, the main one. So they slide the last pen that they have under the door, and they tell him to do it, and he's like, fine, I'll do it, and he puts it up to his nose.
Yeah, they're not letting him in.
They won't let him in. And he just dumps it out. And he's like, join me, it's easier, it's great, whatever.
Yeah, he's like, there's no fear.
No fear.
No pain.
So back
at that
inside,
point, I probably would have been like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking the same thing. Back inside the gym, Casey says that they should, go for the coach. And Zeke says that he has more drugs in his trunk. So the two of them go, and Casey's like, is it really necessary for both of us to be out here? And Zeke's like, well, one of us is a decoy. And he's like, fuck. And so Casey gets cornered on a bus by Delilah, and like the whole fucking football team is like shaking the bus.
Yeah.
And she like rushes at him, and he jumps out through like the fire escape thing on the bus roof and takes off running. They all chase him. Now Zeke, he gets to his trunk, he's digging around, he can't find anything, and then Miss Burke shows up, and he looks inside his car, and he can see two pens right by like the gear shift. So he jumps in his car, and she just smashes her head through the windshield, her side window, and there's tentacles and shit coming out of her tongue and face, and he's driving like crazy trying to get her out. He ends up getting her into the back seat by driving like a maniac, buckles his seatbelt, and then just guns it for like a bus, hits it, and she flies through the windshield.
I love that.
Yeah. the car explodes, or like the front of it kind of blows up. The bus is on fire and shit. He climbs out of the car, and he looks over, and her head is like crawling.
Yeah,
it's got like tentacles come out of it,
and it looks creepy too.
Yeah.
Even normally, I'm like, fuck CGI, but in this movie, it just seems to work. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I think it's maybe because it's cheaper, so it looks better.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So her head is kind of crawling. It's got like octopus leg type things, and he looks over, and her body's there, like feeling the ground for her head, and it just kind of crawls towards her. Now back inside the gym, Stokely and Mary Beth, they're basically the only. It's those two and the two guys, Zeke and Casey, and that's it.
Yeah.
Everybody else is either, taken over. So Mary Beth asks if she's tired of being, somebody that she's not, and says, I am. And Stokely kind of looks at her, and then she gets punched.
Yeah. It's funny, because Clea Duvall is actually a lesbian.
Yeah.
And in this movie, she's saying that she just pretends to be one to scare people away.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so we find out that Mary Beth is in fact infected or whatever. So Casey runs back into the gym. Mary Beth transforms into a giant alien.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta ask you at this point, did you know it was going to be her? When did you figure it out?
Early on, when they were trying to figure out, like, when they were all in the room, and she was like, I'm allergic. I was like, it could be her.
Yeah.
And then they make it be the other one, Delilah, or whatever at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, it wasn't. And then when the two of them are alone in the gym, that's kind of when I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
She's going to be one of them. I didn't expect her to be that one, though.
Yeah,
that was
she's
crazy.
The queen bee. So yeah, she transforms into the giant alien. Casey and Stokely, they run into like the pool area, and it dives into the pool and is like swimming across as they're running, and it gets to Stokely's foot and kind of trips her, and she smashes her face on the ground.
It looks brutal.
Yeah, there's blood. Kind of pulls her into the water. Casey gets her out, and they run into the locker room. The giant alien, this was a cool shot, because it's like a above shot of the pool, and it's a big alien, and then you see it kind of, almost like a shadowy thing turn into her.
Yeah.
Like, as she's getting out of the pool, it becomes Mary Beth again. Zeke, at this point, comes back, and Stokely's like, it's her, and Mary Beth's like, it's her. They're doing the who is it thing, and then Zeke's like to Mary Beth, why are you naked? Because she's completely naked, and then she says she's getting used to her body, and then Zeke's like, I saw you take the drug, and she's like, you need to watch better, and we get like the flashback. And we see her, like, pinky finger was like a tentacle thing.
Yeah.
And her nostrils closed over. And as she went to snort, she undid the bottom and all the drugs fell out the bottom.
Yeah.
So that's how she got away with it.
Which you think would have been pretty obvious at the time.
But you gotta think they were all tweaking on their scat.
That's right.
So yeah, anyway, Stokely... Stokely is also an alien now. So because when she got pulled into the pool, she obviously got taken at that point.
Yeah.
So it's just Casey and Zeke at this point, and Casey throws Stokely into like a cage and locks the door so she can't get out. Zeke makes Casey take more drugs at this point because he's like, I don't know who's who, whatever. Yeah. So he does it. They're kind of running around the locker room, and we see Mary Beth walking, and this is another part where it's her walking, but the shadow is like the alien.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So she's walking through, and Zeke gets knocked out. I think he falls off like the top of a locker or something.
Yes, yeah. He gets like thrown through the air, right?
Yeah.
He just like comes crashing down beside him.
He's unconscious, so Casey takes the last of the drugs. He's got like 2 or 3 on him. And yeah, he's the only one left now. Zeke's unconscious.
Yeah,
but
he's the final boy.
Exactly. So she transforms back into the alien. Casey, he's in the gym now, and he hits the bleacher button, so all the bleachers start retracting. And he gets in there, and he's running as they're closing behind him.
He's pretty confident to do something like that.
Now the alien gets in there with him, and it's kind of following him as these things are shutting behind them. And he gets to the end, and he dives out, and the alien goes and gets crushed right at the end. And at this point, he's got the pens in his hand as it's like kind of twitching in front of him, and he's like, guaranteed to jack you up. And he just stabs the pens into its eye. And it's at that point, it spit out a bunch of those leech things, which were trying to get into his cheeks and face.
Yeah.
But he stabbed it in time. It started to die, and then the things all fell out of his face. And Casey runs back to Stokely. She's normal. Zeke crashes into the cage as they're talking, and that's like a little jump scare thing, I guess. So they're fine, and we jump to 1 month later. And we hear a news report talking about the disappearance of teachers and students, and they're denying aliens and all that shit. Zeke is on the football team. Stan and Stokely are dating, and Casey and Delilah are also dating. And we see a bunch of magazines that she drops in front of them with Casey on the cover, like Time magazine, fact or fiction shit.
Yeah.
And news people wanting to interview him.
There was a funny scene with Delilah and Casey earlier where like she's being super mean to him all the time, and then he's like, oh, you're pretty cool when you're not a bitch.
Yeah. That's right, yes. And that's the end.
Yeah.
So end credits roll at that point. Yeah. So first time watch for you.
First time watch.
I've seen it a bunch, like I mentioned earlier. Body count, I don't know.
Yeah, because a lot of people come back to life.
Yeah, I would say
anyone that gets stabbed with the pens are dead for sure.
Yeah, but they're not, because I'll tell you in a minute here. Do you have a favorite kill?
Probably Furlong.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Because that's the first time you really get a good look at like the kill.
Yeah.
Like how they killed them.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have a worse one because there wasn't really any bad.
No.
Anything make you jump?
No.
Or startle you? No.
No jumps.
Okay. Now I was going to mention how Jon Stewart's character, Ed Furlong, Mr. Furlong, got stabbed in the eye. Now, if you're watching the end credit things as they're showing like Jordana Brewster, and it goes through Jon Stewart, and he's got his hands wrapped up, his hand that got his fingers cut off, and he's wearing an eye patch.
Yeah.
Which it's like, okay, was that just for fun? I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, so maybe he didn't die. Just
I guess
the
not.
thing that was in him died.
Yeah, and he's blind in one eye and has no fingers now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's funny. Every time I see the name Jordana Brewster, I think of like a kid's show, like a Big Comfy Couch or something.
Yeah.
Because there's a show called Punky Brewster, I think.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
That I've never seen, but just the name makes me think that she should be a character like from a kid's show.
Yeah.
Brewster.
Yeah. Yeah, so rating, do you have a rating for it? Or do you have anything else before you want to...
Spooky, scary, or terrifying, I'll ask you.
I'll go spooky for this one.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I would suggest doing like a double bill with Slither.
Yeah, that's...
Do them back to back.
A good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My rating, I'm going with a 9.
Holy shit.
I loved it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. There's something about this kind of movie with like alien slugs taking over people.
Yeah.
It's a very specific genre, but it's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's good.
Yeah, it had the perfect amount of like campiness and like
all
right gore, fun story.
Yeah.
I was all in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Glad you liked it. I give it a 7.5.
Nice.
Not bad. It's not one of my favorites for sure, but I do enjoy it. I watch it a lot, so...
Our ratings have changed so much.
I know.
Since we've started doing horror.
I know.
Before, everything we talked about, you're like, it's a 1 or a 2. I fucking hate this movie.
So many movies. I just love a lot of horror.
Yeah.
Now, I have a weird question for you.
19.
Okay. This was produced by Harvey and whatever his brother's name is, the Weinsteins. Now, you hear all the shady stories. Do you, now knowing what happened, look at the cast and be like, I wonder if, for example, Jordana Brewster, this was her first movie.
Right.
Did he fucking try to do things
to
her? Like, that's what I look at now when I see the Weinsteins, and I'm like, oh, he's such a fucking creep.
Yeah.
That he probably did try or do something horrible to Mary Beth or to whoever.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, it's just something that's been ruined for me now for fucking all the Weinstein movies.
I don't think of that, but anytime I see, like, the Weinsteins, there's definitely, like, a little bit of a rain cloud over the movie then. It's kind of like,
and
I
the thing
didn't
is,
see that.
those fucking movies, they did a lot of good movies.
Yeah.
Like, a lot. And it's just such a shitty thing to have, like you said, a cloud over the movie now. And it's like, I look at it as like, who did he try this with in this one? Because, with Scream, it was Tatum, whatever her name is in real life, but just a creep.
Yeah.
Ghoul. Anyway, the movie is great.
Monster.
Yeah. And that was the other thing I was going to mention about the writing is Kevin Williamson wrote this movie. He did Scream as well. He didn't write it. Like, he was brought in. The story was done. And the Weinsteins brought him in to, like, punch it up and make it more hip.
Oh, okay.
So I find it weird when you see, like written by Kevin Williamson when it was technically already written and he just kind of punched it up. Like, shouldn't that be a multiple person credit?
Yeah.
Or maybe there's some sort of thing, like, if they change a certain amount, they don't have to do it. I have no idea how it works, but it's weird.
That is. I don't know how much you need to change for it to become your story.
Strange.
When it originally isn't anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on IMDb it shows David Webster. Is that it?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. And Bruce Kimmel.
Okay.
We're both writers, and it says, and others.
Okay.
So, I don't know who the others are.
Yeah.
But that's what it shows.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll mention, you have a 65-inch TV.
I do.
Did you watch the DVD I loaned you, or did you...
I did.
Yeah. Did it cut it off, or was it full screen? Do you remember?
I don't think I noticed.
Okay, because I put mine in my Xbox, which is Blu-ray, whatever. I don't have a DVD player anymore, which I almost wish I did, because when I put it in, it turned my 65-inch to probably a 42-inch.
Oh, okay.
There was black bars along the sides and the top, big ones.
Oh, no, that didn't happen to me.
Fuck. Lucky. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta get a DVD player just for my DVDs, because
Yeah.
Blu-rays they just change it too much, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Weird.
Yeah. That's it, I guess.
Yeah, that's this episode of Watchers. If you guys have seen this movie, tell us what you would give it out of 10. Comment below if you're on YouTube, or send us a message on Watchers_podcast on Instagram. Because we like hearing from you guys. If we're completely off base on our reviews, let us know.
That's right.
If it's too high, too low, tell us whatever you think. We're open-minded people.
Sure are.
Yeah. Bye.